things. One of them we raised on the question that they're both proposed on ecology in one country. Is the problem is that the issue is global. It's not a local question, all right? Because and water transcends borders, right? And so, and also interventions as a result have a knock-on effect. Now, historically, human beings always built near rivers. If you think of Mesopotamia, if you think of Egypt, if you think of the Po River Valley, it's another example. And what had happened in the Middle East was an artificial drawing of borders because of Sykes-Picot, and that's then created additional problems. And so what we were saying that even though it's a global issue, what we need to do is get people to think globally and act locally. So that, because you have to start somewhere, because we all can't wait until we have socialism all over the world to actually start working at this. We need to start at some point. And one of the things, and I'm sure Roland's going to discuss this more, that we talked about, is like the ideology of Zionism was that we have a massive transformation as part of it, where we transform ourselves and we transform nature, and it's based upon this idea of this idea that human beings have to take control of the situation. And this has like increased the possibility, well, it's moved towards an environmental disaster because of it. And so, a similar thing happened with Turkey damming the Euphrates. And, well, Turkey is much more lush and fertile than Palestine. Because in Palestine and in Israel, the problem is the state itself and the ideology of the society is a problem. And so we talked about the Dead Sea drying up. We talked about the abandonment of desalinization projects because they're too expensive. And one of the strangest things that Roland mentioned is that they're talking about there's a deal with Turkey shipping water, literally shipping water between Turkey and Israel, and this then impact on global politics because one of the pipelines supposedly is going to North Cyprus. So that's another additional thing. And while the Israelis might have invented drip irrigation, which is a good thing because it reduces water loss, they basically then used it to actually create more and more production, which was then an additional problem. So the primary things we talked about was building, think globally, act locally. So that was from us over here. Anyone else listening? Oh, come on.
Well, I'm afraid I talk rather a lot, so I think you do a job of I think we did talk about, can you have ecological solutions in one country, and looking at the Middle East, and obviously don't, for the reasons you've said, and the fact that there are very complex relations between various states, and of course in the question of Israel, the Palestinians are not in a position to be an equal party, and in Kurdistan again the Kurds are not taken into consideration, except as the object partly of the policies. So you can't do it in one country. You've got to be looking across the region and changing the systems that run there. Obviously, Mehmet mentioned the Rojava plan, and we have talked a bit about solidarity and the resources in the Left Unity pamphlet on the subject. There's just one thing wasn't in the discussion, but I would mention. There is a delegation being set up to go and look at the forest fires that the Turkish army is busy encouraging in areas that they want to control. If anybody's interested or thinks they might know of anyone who's interested, that's 23rd to 25th of July. Basically, go to the advocate, take in some of the areas where the fires are burning, and people will produce a report from this, getting evidence out and spreading it around. I don't know if your group discussed it, but it would be interesting to know, maybe Roland, I'm sure you know Roland, what concretely is going on in the way of solidarity around efforts to improve the environment in Israel and the occupied territories.
Yes, following along from what's been said, we took up various items, like a bit of a shock in this. we spoke about Turkey's impact on the area. You know, it's what it did for its own geopolitical purposes, like, as you say, the burning of forests. The way it's tried to develop what was suggested as the GAP project has been in some way, you know, a Turkish-controlled enrichment project for the Kurds. The way it affects parts of Kurds' territories to the Euphrates water-wise. Interesting aspect about the Ulusu Dam, where through international pressure, the construction of that dam was stopped. International companies had to withdraw. So, I mean, that's a very good example of where, you know, people taking up the issue in a solidarity type fashion could actually have an impact. I mean, I would say that's probably one of the best examples of international solidarity. The links that the new rapprochement that's taking place between Turkey and Israel around issues connected to natural gas. As far as solidarity, other solidarity issues, it was suggested by Mehmet that perhaps, I know obviously it's people picture the liberated area as being a war-torn area, so obviously it would perhaps be part of someone's list as a tourist attraction, but obviously people visiting these areas is a key part of the development of pushing the message of what the Kurds are trying to achieve in these areas. So that's something that it would very much encourage. Also, the issue of how historically diverse the Rehavo area is, in every sense of the word. The fact that the liberated areas with their community-based structures share surplus produce between them, so obviously also, I mean, you're in a war-type situation, so obviously, we can assume that the importance of these structures is very important in a war situation. And as far as obviously the question of ecology cannot be solved within one area or one nation, but the beginnings of addressing the solution starts in wherever it starts, within the confines of the nation or an area. I don't know if anyone else wants to add anything to what I've said.
Does anybody else have any? Yeah. Okay. Okay. Maybe in that time we'll come back and we can have speakers' responses.
No contributions.
That's why I asked if there's any more contributions.
You didn't.
It
sounded more reports.
Oh, and does anybody have any more contributions before I bring people back? That was it's the way I phrased it. My error.
Plenary discussion.
Yes. Does anyone have anything to add, to raise? They want questions added, or anything they want to comment on? How's that? Okay.
We're all exhausted.
Huh? We're all exhausted.
That's one question about international law. Is there any international law on these things? Where if you've got 4 countries and one river goes through it, is there any international law at all regulating these things? I just wondered. I don't know. It would seem, we could take advantage of that where necessary if it was possible to gain anything like that. But I mean, maybe it doesn't exist anywhere at all. Does the UN or anybody else have any jurisdiction on these things?
There is international law, but there's also largely treaty, international treaty
On the water question?
on most of those things.
Okay, then I think people want to respond. Well, wait a minute, then both groups.
Sarah asked what's being done for the environment on the ground. In Israel and Palestine, basically, the overall situation is so dire, so pressing. Very little is being done. I mean, there are environmental movements, but very little is being done. And in general, the conflict there is what I want to come to is basically I want to go back to some of the imperatives of Zionism, because Susan mentioned it as a transformative project, and one of the great themes, one of the songs of the early Zionists in the 20s and 30s was, we have come to this country to build and to be rebuilt there. They had argued often, their rejection of Jewish life elsewhere and their contempt for it, but building was their main project. You have to remember, many of them came from Eastern Europe themselves and from the same sort of mindset, the same culture that created the vast industrialisation projects in the Soviet Union and in Eastern Europe. But in this building project, one of the main agents was an organisation called the Jewish National Fund. Now, anybody else who grew up as a Jew in Britain will remember the little blue box that you used to have where you put your pennies in that was sent over for environmental improvement in Israel. It markets itself as an environmental organisation, and it's a registered charity here. It now calls itself an ecological organisation. The Jewish National Fund is, among other things, one of the main agents of colonisation in Palestine. Israel the state owns or controls over 90% of the land, but it's handed control of this over to the Jewish National Fund. So this organisation that markets itself here as an ecological charity actually is answerable theoretically to Jews around the world, is in control of over 90% of the land in Israel and Palestine. It's one of the main ways in which land is kept out of the hands of Palestinians. But this is also the body that was responsible for draining the Hula, as I mentioned before. That's what we were told our pennies were going to when I was a child. You're draining the swamps and eliminating malaria. One thing I forgot to say, by the way, was that malaria was more or less eliminated under British colonial rule with the introduction of DDT. Whatever we think of DDT and the problems involved with it, it had more or less eliminated malaria there, so it was not even really necessary to drain the swamps to do that. The other thing that the JNF is responsible for is afforestation. Now, what they have done, and some of this came up with the scandal about the Canada Park. Canada Park is a park that is built over the ruins of 3 Palestinian villages in Wasialo and Beit Nuba, that were on the road from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem that was occupied in 1967. The first thing Israel did was demolish these villages to straighten the road from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. And then they planted a forest funded by the JNF in Palestine on top of these villages. You go there and you see signs around saying, you may see in this forest, we have replanted in this forest examples of the original plantation in the country to give people some idea of what plant life there used to be here. Basically, it's the ruins of the villages. They didn't replant it, it's still there. But what they've done there and elsewhere is to plant huge pine forests. Now, you have to remember many of these Zionist pioneers were people who came from Eastern Europe, which is a forested area, a lush area. It's not Palestine, arid, partly desert area. Pine trees are not indigenous there. The effect of planting pine trees, and I would argue this has been quite deliberate, has been, for example, they're taller than the native deciduous, the olive trees, the citrus, the nut trees, the carrot trees, and whatever. They're taller and they keep the sun off. Also, when they shed the pine needles poison the soil. Basically, is yet another way in which evidence of Palestinian previous habitation is being removed, is in the name of ecology, in the name of the ecological imperatives they're saying. Basically what we're seeing, there's you've probably heard of pinkwashing of Israel trying to cover its image by saying, well, at least we're gay friendly. There's also, some people are raising this, the question of greenwashing of Israel, saying we're an environmental oasis in a polluted world. And the more you look at this, the more you find not only that it isn't true, but that it's covering a far greater untruth of colonisation and the dispossession. So, in many ways, the ecological balance of Zionism is not only been negative, but it's been used in a very negative way to hide evidence of the crimes they've committed. We didn't really in our workshop discuss solidarity, but one thing I do want to raise here is that there's a growing project initiated by the International Jewish Anti-Zionist Network of delegitimization of this body, the Jewish National Fund, which is a charity here, a charity elsewhere in the world, which is raising vast sums of money for not only the environmental devastation of Palestine, but also for the colonisation of the apartheid in Palestine. So very specifically in solidarity terms, and I can forward details to people if they would be interested, but there is a campaign against the Jewish National Fund, which is starting, and next year's the 100th anniversary of the Balfour Declaration, and I think people will be stepping up activism around that. So that's the one thing I'd urge people to do around this, is to take action against the Jewish National Fund, which is not an ecological organisation, it's a colonisatory and apartheid organisation.
Is the JNF the same as the World Zionist Organisation, or linked, or what?
It's linked, it's not quite the same, but the JNF was set up by the World Zionist Organisation in 1905. And it's also very much the same as an organisation called the Jewish Agency, which is, there's a vast complicated network, and it depends what they're doing, what they're doing.
Just in brief, Israel might not be an oasis in the Middle East in that regard, or in any other regard probably, but Rojava is a contender at least to be that kind of oasis, where alternative structures, an alternative way of life, and an ecological society is at the heart of everything that is done. But again, linking it into the question of whether it can survive and succeed as an oasis by itself. It was discussed a year ago, more so when these ideas were first being discussed, especially in the UK or in the West, and it survived so far and is developing, and compared to other approaches in the region, especially to do with the Syrian crisis and the expansion of jihadist groups and ideologies across Syria and Iraq and the wider region. It's the only one that's working actually. Whereas millions of Syrian refugees have spread across the whole world, the majority of Rojavans have gone back to their homes, and the reason is because there is a functioning system. There are administrations across these three cantons, and there are people who are willing to fight and organise and work for this ideological, I don't want to say utopia, because I believe it is achievable. So it's proven in practice to the people of the region, who, are the people of the region. They're no more or no less than other people of the region. So the fact that they can achieve it there, that they do have this this consciousness to be able to do it, or the leadership to be able to do it, the political, social cadres to be able to do it, shows that it is possible. everyone is kind of amazed at the participation of women and the kind of liberationist ideology that has got women active, not just on the battlefield, but also in other areas of social life. Shows that that when you do have certain power structures or things in place, basically, organizational structures in place. I mean, it's not something that happened overnight, obviously. The Kurdish movement has a 40-year history in Turkey, in North Kurdistan, and it is the fruits of that 40-year struggle, through its trials and tribulations, through the mistakes it's made, and through its evolution that has created something like Rojava. But I think it's very, very important if we consider that all new ideas, all contemporary movements started off with in small regions, small areas. Even Marxism or socialism as an idea, as a science, developed in small areas and regions and affected only a few people, but then grew to influence the whole world, and even countries where it didn't become the government or it didn't become the overall ruling power, it still influenced. And I think Rojava has this capacity for the rest of the Middle East. The fact that not only Kurds but Assyrians, Armenians, Arabs are, as they flee jihadist forces, as they flee the Assad regime, come into these areas, these autonomous regions, and seek refuge there and find a way of joining in the administration of their own communities and their own societies, shows that, and also when we talk about Rojava, we should also actually talk about the Shengal region, where the Yazidi community lives, and where these ideas are also being put into practice. We can see that the Kurds are in, specifically the Kurds, are in a advantageous position in the Middle East, living in Turkey, Syria, Iraq, and Iran, to have a massive impact over the coming decade, 2 decades, on the societies that are going to be structured in that region in general. And already through international solidarity, the experiences of Latin America and alternative movements there, Palestinian movements, movements in Morocco, in Egypt, are also in Tunisia, are also there's cross-fermentation, which makes it, I think, a difficult struggle in the coming years, but a very worthy one. And I would urge anybody who's inspired, who's interested, to read up more on it and to participate through, Sarah has all the contacts, with the Peace in Kurdistan campaign, with the Kurdistan National Congress, and with groups like Rojava Plan, which is more non-Middle Eastern groups, more Western groups, to participate in at least one project that this purpose. Thank you.
We've actually finished early. Does anyone want to raise anything else since we've actually finished early? It's almost frightening. I think. Oh, go ahead. Just one more. I have no sense of Okay, well, thanks everybody for coming and participating. And thanks to our speakers, Alan, Roland, and Matt.